In this extraordinary world, there are mystical skates that serve as gateways to entirely new dimensions. These dimensions are riddled with enigmatic dungeons, which in turn are inhabited by fearsome monsters wielding extraordinary powers. Our protagonist, a young boy named Jin-Woo, is one of the hunters, although he holds the lowly E rank, the lowest tier in the hierarchy of hunters. Jin-Woo often finds himself facing humiliation and defeat at the hands of even the most modest foes. However, he has a compelling and noble reason for persevering in this dangerous profession: to secure the funds necessary to cover his ailing mother's mounting medical bills. Little did he know that the roughest trouble of his life has been waiting for him in one of those dungeons. The story begins on a fateful day when an otherworldly gate mysteriously materializes at a nearby construction site. Drawn by the anomaly, Jin-Woo ventures to the site, fully aware of the derisive whispers from fellow hunters who clandestinely label him the weakest hunter in the world. His appearance is marred by fresh wounds, the souvenirs of a battle in an E-rank dungeon, a source of embarrassment for any seasoned hunter. Among the skeptics, Jin-Woo spots his friend Ju-hee, who wears a genuine look of concern for his battered state. It's an undeniably pitiable situation to sustain injuries in what's deemed the most accessible tier of dungeons. As the gate at the construction site begins to crack open, a crowd gathers in eager anticipation of the unknown beyond. Among them, Mr. Song, the highest-ranked hunter, takes charge and guides the group into the enigmatic dungeon. Jin-Woo follows closely, fueled by a fervent determination to prove himself and ascend through the ranks. Jin-Woo's frailty becomes glaringly evident as he's almost instantly injured within the perilous confines of the dungeon. Ju-hee, his loyal friend, finds herself compelled to allocate her precious time to mend his wounds. Meanwhile, the other hunters engage in fierce combat with the dungeon's menacing creatures, employing their arsenal of magic and weaponry to dispatch the foes. Curiosity gnaws at Ju-hee as she wonders why Jin-Woo persists in being a hunter, especially given his lackluster performance. Preferring not to divulge his dire financial situation, he fabricates a story, claiming that he has no other worthwhile pursuits and that dungeon raids offer a sense of exhilaration. As conversations flow, the enemies in the dungeon are systematically vanquished by the collective efforts of the hunters, leading to the rewarding sight of magic crystals, which materialize in the aftermath of a monster's demise. The crystal's worth is directly linked to the rank of the defeated creature, with Jin-Woo securing only an E-rank crystal, regrettably of modest value. Unexpectedly, the hunters realize that the dungeon extends further, harboring a concealed boss. The prospect of confronting such a formidable adversary raises alarms among the group, sparking a debate about whether to press forward or make a strategic retreat. The vote ends in an inconclusive 8 deadlock, with Jin-Woo cast in the decisive role. Despite recognizing the peril of the impending challenge, Jin-Woo's thoughts drift to his ailing mother, burdened by exorbitant medical bills. In a pivotal moment, he casts his vote in favor of continuing the perilous journey. While he may be far from an exemplary hunter, his heart is undeniably one of kindness and unwavering determination. Ju-hee, understandably perturbed by Jin-Woo's potentially life-threatening decision, can't conceal his frustration. He's still reeling from the recent close call Jin-Woo had, and now finds it absurd that his friend believes he can handle a boss. Jin-Woo, recognizing the imprudence of his choice, apologizes and extends an offer to take Ju-hee out for dinner as a gesture of reconciliation. Nonetheless, the group forges ahead with determination until they encounter a colossal door, its size suggesting something of significant importance hidden behind it. Mr. Song leads the way, guiding the group into the heart of the boss room, where an eerie blue flame bathes the surroundings. Towering stone statues loom, each one seemingly guardian-like. In the room's center, an even more colossal stone statue, at least 50 feet in height, sits majestically on a throne. The hunters exchange bewildered glances, perplexed by the absence of any immediate threat. They venture around the chamber, but their sense of unease only grows. Abruptly, the massive door clangs shut, sealing them inside, and panic ripples through the group. When one of the hunters attempts to reopen the door, a stone statue abruptly springs to life, dealing a swift and fatal blow that abruptly ends the hunter's journey through life. A horrified silence descends upon the remaining members of the group, their faces etched with shock and disbelief. The realization that the seemingly inert statues are, in fact, mobile in their predicament worsens with every passing moment. Mounting fear grips the group, particularly Jin-Woo, who comprehends his glaring lack of capability to combat these formidable foes. Panic courses through the gathered hunters, and some frantically attempt to flee from the menacing stone giants. Amidst the chaos, the colossal statue in the center comes to life, emanating a devastating beam of energy from its eyes, pinpointing the group. Those trapped in the room instinctively cower and hope for the best, but the merciless attack claims numerous lives. Even Mr. Song suffers a grievous injury, losing an arm in the process. It becomes apparent that those who attempted to escape were the ones who met their untimely demise, while the rest were spared. Amidst the chaos and the carnage, an inscription catches their attention. It implores those trapped in this nightmarish chamber to worship, praise, and profess devotion to an enigmatic figure known as the Lord. They soon connect the dots, realizing that the colossal statue before them embodies this Lord. As the gravity of their situation sinks in, a collective sense of dread washes over the group. Confronted by a boss of such staggering rank and seemingly insurmountable power, the hunters are left to grapple with the daunting challenge that lies ahead, immobilized by the magnitude of the threat they face. They stand frozen, contemplating their next steps in the face of this perilous conundrum. Mr. Song's arm continues to bleed profusely, and the dire situation has left him helpless. He brought only 3 healers with him, and now one of them lies lifeless, while the other 2 grapple with paralyzing panic. In this desperate moment, the group is left to grapple with the grim reality of their predicament within this D-rank dungeon. Desperation drives one of the high-ranked hunters to make a daring attempt at escape. He sprints towards the door with all the speed and strength he can muster. However, his valiant effort ends in tragic futility as the statues act with merciless efficiency, eliminating him before he can reach safety. This gruesome spectacle sends a wave of horror and despair through the remaining hunters, who begin to lose hope, convinced that there is no conceivable means of escape from this harrowing ordeal. Amidst the mounting despair, Jin-Woo, however, holds on to a glimmer of hope. Recalling the cryptic message on the inscription, he formulates a clever plan. Without hesitation, he approaches the towering stone statue that embodies the Lord. Jin-Woo, in a desperate bid to appease the Lord, bows in deep reverence before the imposing stone statue, and with a resounding voice, he implores the remaining hunters to do the same. The onlookers initially regard his actions as eccentric, but, with no other conceivable options at hand, they reluctantly comply. One by one, the survivors kneel in obeisance before the enigmatic figure. In a spine-chilling turn of events, the seemingly lifeless statue responds, and an eerie, unsettling smile graces its stone visage. It's a disconcerting sight, but for the moment, it seems as though their efforts might have paid off. However, this precarious peace is shattered when a couple of overeager hunters, thinking the ordeal has concluded, foolishly stand upright and celebrate their survival. Their jubilation provokes the statue, which abruptly awakens and rises, casting a monstrous shadow over the group. Its colossal head nearly touches the ceiling, a truly terrifying and menacing sight. The towering statue retaliates, attempting to crush the surviving hunters beneath its massive foot. Tragically, a few of them meet a grisly end, intensifying the fear that courses through the group. Thinking on his feet, Jin-Woo recalls the cryptic inscription's second directive, to praise the Lord. Realizing that this could be their only lifeline, one of the hunters takes a cross in hand and begins to offer praises to the Lord. The group watches in desperation and anticipation, hoping against hope that this gesture will pacify the colossal statue. However, a chilling revelation unfolds as it becomes apparent that the Lord they're dealing with is not the benevolent figure they might have hoped for. The statue, unmoved by the religious symbols and prayers, mercilessly crushes the hunter who mistakenly praised the wrong Lord under its immense foot. Amid the chaotic scramble for survival, Jin-Woo clings to Juhi's hand, as the situation devolves into every person for themselves. They make a frantic attempt to distance themselves from the rampaging Lord. However, their escape is impeded as the other statues in the room spring to life and join in the assault. There is seemingly no refuge to be found. Remarkably, some of the statues wield instruments rather than weapons. Approaching these musical statues, they begin to play melodies, much to the pleasure of the Lord, who is momentarily appeased. Those fortunate enough to stand near these harmonious figures find themselves spared. Jin-Woo and Ju-hee rush towards one such musical statue, but to their dismay, it remains silent since only one person can stand beneath it at a time. Recognizing the dire situation, Jin-Woo makes a desperate break to find his own musical statue, with the Lord in relentless pursuit. The towering menace attempts to stomp him, but Jin-Woo's sheer determination drives him to evade the violent statue's attacks, weaving through their onslaught. In what seems to be his final moments, with the Lord looming ominously over him, Jin-Woo refuses to succumb to despair. He continues to crawl forward, inching closer and closer, until he finally reaches a musical statue of his own, which begins to sing, sparing his life. As the room fills with harmonic melodies, the Lord gradually calms down, and it becomes clear that this is what the cryptic inscription meant by "Praise the Lord." Jin-Woo, however, pays a heavy price for his survival, as his leg is grievously injured, severed in the attack by the statue. Ju-hee, though relieved to be alive, is utterly drained and unable to tend to Jin-Woo's grievous injury. The group of survivors, reduced to a mere 8, gradually regain their composure amidst the turmoil. However, their emotions are fraught with anger and blame, and they turn their ire towards Mr. Song, holding him responsible for the unfolding tragedy. Their quarrel is abruptly halted by the Lord, as it releases an imposing altar that crashes down upon the ground, producing a resounding thud that reverberates throughout the room. The inscription's cryptic directive now becomes evident, representing the third and final trial, to show devotion to your Lord. Each member of the group, one by one, approaches the altar and steps onto it. For every person who steps onto the altar, a ring of red flames surrounds them, encircling a ring of blue flames. As they do so, the chamber's door swings open, and the eerie stone statues within the room commence a slow, deliberate march toward them. The urgency of the situation becomes unmistakably clear as the survivors stand upon the altar, their fate hanging in the balance. If they don't confront this malevolent boss soon, the gates to dungeons will open entirely after 7 days, allowing the relentless monsters to spill through into the real world. Time is of the essence as the statues advance menacingly, and the group readies themselves for the final showdown. The harrowing test unfolds, and the group of hunters must maintain an unwavering gaze on the encroaching statues. If they so much as avert their eyes, the statues inch ever closer, relentlessly approaching their vulnerable targets with murderous intent. The blue flames on the floor serve as a grim timer, representing the limited time they have to endure this trial. Survival depends on their ability to persist until the very last blue flame is extinguished. Each hunter is acutely aware of the stakes, and they fix their unwavering gazes on the advancing statues, doing their best to withstand the mounting pressure and fear. However, there's a twist to the test. The hunters are free to leave the altar and flee through the open door to safety at any time. A glimmer of hope exists, yet it comes with a caveat. At least one person must remain on the altar for the door to stay open. They can't all escape this way, a fact that doesn't deter some of the hunters who become overwhelmed by fear and the relentless approach of the statues. They opt for the seemingly easier path, fleeing through the open door and leaving Jin-Woo, Ju-hee, and Mr. Song behind. With the dwindling number of protectors and the sheer multitude of statues, the trio struggles to maintain their vigil, realizing that it's becoming an impossible task to watch all the statues at once. The situation grows increasingly dire as their options for escape dwindle.